The following paid program is sponsored by Henningsen Injury Attorneys.
Hello and welcome to Lawyer Talk. We are so glad that you have decided to join us. Kind of the plan for the next half hour is this is a show where it is our complete and honest intent to answer questions you have, maybe for an attorney or about the legal practice, how it works, how do I determine what my cases worth answering those type of questions, but also doing it in a way that is understandable, because sometimes legal jargon can be confusing, approaching an attorney somewhat intimidating. So this show, for the next half hour, we're going to kind of demystify some of that legal jargon and help you get some of the answers to the questions that you and I have about the legal practice. A couple of reminders all throughout the program tonight. You'll see this number in a website on the screen there. The number to know is area code 404-835-4935. Make note of that, or you can head to the website atlantapiattorney.com. Again, atlantapiattorney.com. Leading our discussion tonight, Attorney Todd Henningsen. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So for the next half hour, some of the things we're going to cover, kind of some questions that you probably often get from clients, I would bet.
Yes. I think what we're going to be talking about a lot is what is your case worth? Right. What's the value of your case? And that's the number one question I get. And we're talking specifically about personal injury. Right. Auto accidents, slip and falls, products liability claims, any type of claim where somebody's been injured. Right. I look forward to answering all those questions.
Yeah, for the next few minutes we'll be here. By way of a bio, this is the part where you just have to hang on for a second because you got to make sure folks know who we're talking to and why. We're just really thrilled to have Todd here. Todd Henningsen is president and managing attorney of Henningsen Injury Attorneys, a statewide law firm that represents victims of serious personal injuries, including auto accidents, truck accidents, workplace accidents, and premises claims. Todd has been practicing personal injury law for 10 years. A neat designation that he has. There's something called a super lawyer. That is a recognition by peers. Only 5% of attorneys get such a designation. Todd has that, and he has collected millions for his clients. So, as I said, we're really fortunate to have Todd right here with us.
Actually, I'll show you how old I'm getting. I've been practicing personal injury for 17 years.
17. You look so young. That's what it is. That is.
But it is. Yeah. It's a long time.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's jump into this. The question of what is my case worth it's probably like top of mind for folks, and a question you get quite a bit. So how do you go about answering that question?
I think in order to really answer that question, you have to understand what the law is and what you're entitled to and what are the factors that are considered. And there's a number of factors. We could probably do a 2-hour show on case valuation. And I will tell you, it's not something that is easy to do at the beginning of a case. Any attorney that tells you, oh, this is exactly what your case is worth, without knowing all of your injuries and what you've been through and how it's impacted your life, you can't value that. Yeah. So some of the factors that you would consider are, first, do we have a claim? Right. Okay, you have to establish that there is a claim. And that claim comes into play by typically negligence. Okay? Let's talk about it in a typical car wreck situation. Right. Do you have a situation in which somebody violated the traffic laws, hit you from behind? That's a typical scenario that we see. So they had a duty to drive carefully. They didn't drive carefully. They hit you. So we can prove that case. Okay. Then were you actually injured? I know that seems something that seems obvious, but and what I mean by that is, did you get medical treatment? Okay. Just simply saying, well, my back hurt for a couple days and now I'm fine, that's not really something that's going to be pursued.
So something confirmed by some kind of a medical professional or some sort of paper trail to prove that.
That's right. That's what we want to be able to do.
Okay.
And so that is just the crux of, do I have a case just that's compensable to begin with? And then you have to look at, what are you entitled to claim? Okay. So that's medical bills and lost wages. You can do past and present, past and future if the evidence warrants it. Other considerations are humiliation, suffering, disfigurement, its effect upon your life, there's loss of consortium, there's all sorts of factors that go into determining your value. Another big determining factor is how much insurance coverage is available.
Right.
A lot of times people are judgment proof. So if we have a limit in the amount of insurance coverage, then we may not be able to recover more than that.
So judgment proof, what does judgment proof mean? What do you mean by that?
Meaning that you can go and try to get a judgment against that person,
Okay.
and you're not going to collect anything. It's a check you can't cash. Right. Let me give you an example. Let's say that we go to court, we get a verdict against an individual, and we want to have them pay us $10,000.
Okay.
If that person doesn't have $10,000 to pay you, you're subject to trying to garnish their wages or do things like that, but they could go into bankruptcy, and you may receive pennies on the dollar. So you're typically, in most cases, limited to the amount of insurance coverage that's available.
As you go down this road, it just as a layman, it just seems complicated. Like there are many things you brought up never crossed my mind. Okay, is that why it's important to get an attorney you can trust and rely on early on? Because I guess lay people don't know what we don't know.
I think it is important, and if you pick up the phone, the call is free. You can get the information. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
We're happy to give that information to you so that you can just be aware of certain things. And that's where an attorney comes into play, is we work backwards, forwards. What is the end result we're trying to achieve, and how do we get there? And so if you've been doing this long enough, you know that what you have to consider.
Right.
What are the factors that you need to look at?
Yeah. Because I would think, I mean, you nearly have 20 years of doing this now.
That's correct.
You know what to look for, and I would think pretty quickly could kind of disqualify, and even if it's bad news of, you really don't have a case versus, there is something here. I would think that's the value of that experience.
Absolutely. And there's nuances in all of this, right? I mean, this is very broad brush stroke kind of analysis on this, but it's just certain things to consider and think about.
Right.
When we're talking about case value, I think it's important. When you see these television advertisements and I got $1 million and I got 500,000 and all of this, that's not very common, okay? Right. I mean, of course the attorney wants to espouse their wins and show how strong they are and how good they are, but I think that it creates kind of a negative feeling that, well, is my case worth $1 million? Why isn't it worth $1 million? And I will tell you, $1 million case, I'm going to see you in the hospital. Or, I mean, it's a case in which a person would gladly give the money back to never have that injury. I mean, it's significant. Yeah. But that's what we're talking about, is top line value. The most important thing, and the secret, is the bottom line value.
Right.
Top line is what the case settles for.
Yeah.
But who's getting paid out of that, and how much do you receive as the client?
Right.
That's what nobody's talking about. And that's where we've really focused a lot of our practice, is not only on the top line. That's important, because that's beat your chest, bravo, you did a great job. But it's also, this is in the trenches work that is getting you more money.
I want to kind of break that down, the top line value, the bottom line value. Real quick, I would like to remind folks again, as the conversation is progressing, these numbers and this website is live and active right now. So you can call 404-835-4935. Again, all throughout the program tonight, that's a number you're going to want to make note of. Again, 404-835-4935, or head to the website atlantapiattorney.com, atlantapiattorney.com. Let's get back to that top line value, bottom line value, because you're right. We see all the time there are these ads of $1 million verdicts. It's an actor, an actor portrayal.
That's right.
And it's win after win after win. Pretty unrealistic.
Well, I'm sure they're telling the truth about the wins,
Right.
but that's the 1% of the cases.
Okay.
I've certainly, on my website, want to beat my chest and say, all of the wins that I've got.
Right.
But the most important thing is having a client that's satisfied, and you're doing the right thing by your client in the sense of you're making sure they're getting more money. And let me tell you the disincentive that happens with lawyers in looking at this. A lawyer works on a contingency fee basis in personal injury, which means they don't get paid until you get paid, and they get paid a percentage of what is recovered. okay?
All right.
So once you get that top line number, the fee is set. It's more work to do on the bottom line, even though your fee is already set. So you could try to cut corners, I guess, if you wanted to, but you're doing a disservice for your client. So my staff and how we work on the cases is we want to maximize what's coming to you. And so we work just as hard on getting the top offer that we can, as well as making sure that you're getting more money. And people may not understand that, but there are things that take away from your case, from the money that you receive. For example, if you have Medicare or Medicaid or what's called a fully self-funded ERISA plan, which is a health insurance plan, they will have a claim to get their money back. It's called a subrogation interest. And what that means is they will come in and say, we've paid out money on your behalf for your medical treatment.
Okay.
You've gotten compensated for that. We want it back. Now, you have to keep those wolves at bay. I mean, the law is very clear. There's a fairly recent U.S. Supreme Court opinion, U.S. Airways versus McCutcheon, that came down and says that these ERISA plans, that health insurance, for example, if you work for a big company, Fortune 500 company, it's going to be likely a fully self-funded ERISA plan.
Right.
You have to pay it back. I had a client who was shocked to learn this, absolutely shocked. There's still a benefit to using your health insurance, but you just have to know that you could be put into a situation where you actually resolve your case, didn't realize that these people had to be paid back, and then they take the money. And they're entitled to all the money.
Wow.
If their lien exceeds what's available, they can take it all. So you need a lawyer on your side that understands that. And we work, I call it the battle on two fronts. The battle against the insurance companies to get the most money that we can, and then we're battling the subrogation interests and the lien holders and all of the other people who want to take from you.
Yeah.
And that's what's critically important. And it's kind of the secret that a lot of attorneys don't talk about.
Yeah. What do you advise your clients when it comes to talking to insurance companies and representatives from insurance companies?
Please don't.
Don't do it.
I mean, so let's give a typical car wreck situation. If you're thinking about that, you have no obligation to talk to the liability carrier. You want to report the claim as well to your insurance carrier.
Okay.
There are contractual limitations with the policy that you have with your insurance carrier that may come into play. And what I mean by that is the statute of limitations for a personal injury claim in Georgia is 2 years. But you may only have a month to report the claim to your insurance company. That's a matter of contract, not a matter of statute, which is the law. If you don't report it, and I've seen this happen, and for example, uninsured motorist coverage, that's something that you can access if there's not enough coverage available.
Right.
If you don't report that, they can deny that claim. And I saw a person, they called me up too late. It was a year after the wreck. They had collected $50,000, or they were being offered $50,000. They had an additional $50,000 that they could have accessed that they were not able to access because contractually they were limited. And a phone call would have changed all that.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it cost them money. So contact an attorney before speaking to someone from the insurance company, even though the insurance folks are probably, I don't want to say hot on the trail, but certainly are trying to get in touch with the client.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a client who was in the hospital, and we don't know about, she's catastrophically injured. The insurance company is doing their due diligence. They're on it. But we're at a disadvantage. They're going out investigating the scene before we're over there. Many times in a case like that, if it's catastrophic, lawyers are on the scene. Once we get the phone call, we're picking up pieces. We're behind the 8 ball, so to speak. So we want to be involved as soon as possible. Now, I'm not saying that every case is like that.
Right.
I'm not trying to create a false sense of urgency for people to call. But sooner rather than later, most of these things we can certainly deal with, but we would like to be able to make sure that you understand what your rights are and how we can make sure to get you on the right path.
Yeah. You have had some incredible success in your nearly 20-year career, millions of dollars in claims for your clients. I'm curious for you, this show is a little different than a lot of what you see on television.
Yes.
There are a lot of quick ads that, like we've discussed, are more, highlight the big wins. Why did you even want to do a show that really is, this show is a longer format, it's a half-hour discussion, but it's also really driven by educational information. Why do this way and try to get in touch with people the tradition rather than the traditional way?
So I actually had another attorney friend of mine saying, "Why are you telling them how to do it?" And right,
you're giving away all the secrets.
You're giving away the secrets, and we're not giving away the secrets. What we're doing is we're talking about what's going on in these cases. It's very complicated. I mean, the notion is simple. You've been hurt, and they deserve that. You need the compensation for what you've been through, but you don't know how much you're entitled to. You don't know who else is entitled to money, and so I think what's happening with these 30-second ads, this get in a wreck, get a check kind of thing, I think it's diminished what we really do. It's complicated. It's not, I want you get in a wreck and a week later you're getting a check. I mean, that's not how this works. This is something that is very complicated, and I want to dispel that myth. And I think it's important for you as a consumer to have that information so you can ask the right questions. Hey, is this tax-free money that I'm receiving? Right. Questions like that, so you can understand what's going on. And a lawyer that can't answer those questions, you need to run from. Okay, I mean, you need to, just like doctors have specialized over the years, lawyers have become more and more specialized, even within personal injury. I have a friend of mine. He does basically escalator incidents across the country. I mean, you wouldn't think that there would be a need for it, but there are escalators and elevators. So we've gotten more and more refined in that, and you want to make sure that you are talking to an attorney that has that knowledge base. If you came to me for a criminal matter, I'd say, I'm sorry, I don't do that. Yeah. It's just not what I do. Yeah. We keep up with the personal injury, and that's all we do.
Just over 10 minutes remaining in the show. I want to remind folks real quick how you can get in touch. Again, the phone number you want to write down, if you can, 404-835-4935. That's the phone number, and the website, atlantapiattorney.com, atlantapiattorney.com. In the remaining minutes we have left, I want to talk about something about for the client, for the victim in the case. Let's talk about what they are entitled to claim, because I think there is some confusion there as to what that might be. But for the victim of any sort of accident, what are they entitled to claim?
Okay, so let's talk about car wrecks, because it's just something that everybody kind of understands, right? So you've been injured, you have medical bills that are mounting. You want to use your private health insurance if you have it, or your government-issued health insurance if you have it. You want to make sure to do that. The hospital or the medical care provider may give you pushback on that. And I'll tell you why. There's something called the collateral source rule in the state of Georgia. What that means is, even though, let me take a step back. Okay. With a hospital bill, if you go to the hospital and the bill is, say, $2,000, okay, your health insurance may only pay $500 of that. You may have a copay. The rest is written off. But in the state of Georgia, we get to claim the full $2,000 bill, even though you don't owe that. So you can claim a $2,000 bill, and if your health insurance comes back at you, you only have to pay $500 back of that. Whereas if it's not billed to health insurance, you still owe the full $2,000. Okay. Okay? All right. So that's the medical billing portion of this in terms of what we're looking at. You're entitled to claim that, your medical bills. And if you have future medical bills that a doctor says that you're going to have, that's something you're entitled to claim. You may have a claim for lost wages, right? You could have a claim for future lost wages. What if you need a surgery in the future? There's pain, there's suffering. That's unique to every person. It's unique to every case. You may have a claim for punitive damages. And that is something that we use to deter behavior that we deem unconscionable. And said a different way, it shocks the conscience. Right. And the typical case that we see that in the auto context is a DUI situation in which the other driver is DUI. Mm-hmm. Punitive damages can be extensive. It can very much drive the value of a case. I mean, I've had situations in which, if you come to me, we have investigation that's done, and I uncovered that the person had 2 other DUIs. Well, the case went from a $10,000 case to a $100,000 case because jurors don't like repeat DUI offenders, and they're going to punish that behavior. And we've seen that on multiple occasions. So those are the types of elements of the damages. But something that you have to consider is your medical bills and your lost wages must be related to your injuries and reasonable. So some of the battleground that we're seeing and trends that we're seeing with the insurance carriers, they're saying the bill is just unreasonable. And everybody agrees that medical billing is pretty unreasonable, right? So that resonates with the jury. But these insurance companies now are saying, okay, you have $10,000 in medical bills. We're going to make an offer of $7,000 because we think that the bill should have been $5,000. That is so wrong-minded because you don't, it's not, you can choose what you pay. If you owe $10,000 in medical bills, what are you going to go to the hospital and say, well, the insurance company says it's only $5,000. They're not going to take that. They're not going to do that. So we're running into that problem. It is something that's happening more and more often. And what is happening is people who are, going at this alone, when they get to the point where they're getting offers, they go, well, wait a second, you're not even paying for my medical treatment. And they say, well, we've looked at it and we believe that it should be this. And then they're calling me. I mean, that's what's happening a lot. And they're saying, how can we fix this? And at that point, we've really got to fight them.
Yeah. Let me ask you, you have counseled yourself with just hundreds of people. You've had some really big wins in your career, and you're esteemed by your colleagues, a super lawyer, just a very rare select group that you're a part of. So you've seen a lot of folks. You've had a lot of wins. You've sat across from folks in many different scenarios. So I'm curious, from your vantage point, what are the 2 or 3 most common mistakes that you see people make that you really would like our viewers just kind of to make sure they avoid?
One is not calling a lawyer. I mean, I've seen many times where people have said, oh, I got this great settlement, and I'm like, wow, I could have gotten you a lot more money. And I think that there's the notion that lawyers are taking money from it when we're actually creating value. I mean, if you think about it, if you settle your case for $5,000, but I'm able to get $10,000, you're going to net more money on that, even after you pay a contingency fee. And many times it's much more significant than that. I had a person who came into my office and she was being offered $5,000, and we got her $25,000. And it's very common. I recently had a case that their offer was $125,000. It's a lot of money. But we filed a lawsuit. We did some more negotiations. $200,000. We're settling the case. So insurance companies are trying to do as little as possible to get you to sign on the line. So that's a mistake, not getting the help you need. Second, a big mistake is not getting the medical treatment that you need. If you are hurt, I'm not saying run to a doctor. If you're not hurt, you're not hurt. That's perfectly fine. We don't want to drum up claims. But if you are hurt, you need to go to get medical help. People that suffer in silence aren't going to be compensated for what they've been through. We need to get the medical documentation. We need to have a doctor supporting you on that. Because not every case goes to trial. That's not how this works. An insurance company is going to look at the case, make an offer based upon what they're seeing in the medical records. But if you're going to trial, the script for the case is what's in the medical records too, in terms of your injuries. I mean, if you vary from that, the defense is going to eat you alive. So you want to make sure that you are doing what you need to do in that. Make sure you document the scene. If it's a slip and fall, take pictures of where you fell. If it's an auto wreck, if you're able and safely able to do so, document it. Get the police to come. Don't talk to the other party's insurance carrier. I've got a case right now where we're having a real tough time because a recorded statement was given before my client understood what fully happened and was on pain medication. And we're trying to fix it, but it's hard. And I got involved in the case much later. So it's a mistake. I mean, it's hurting our case.
And it's easier now to document than ever. Everybody has a phone. You've got a camera right there. You can
absolutely.
It's
the world at your fingertips.
It's easier than ever before. From your vantage point, just a few minutes remaining before we get a final thought from you. Just one other thing I want to button up. How often Because I think some folks are afraid, okay, I don't want to waste Todd's time. I may be making a
Right.
mountain out of a molehill. How often pretty quickly, are you able just to help them see, whether they do or don't have a case? I mean, kind of that sort of that barrier to giving you a call. No reason to be. There really are no dumb questions or silly questions when it comes to your health.
No, absolutely not. I mean, if you feel like somebody has wronged you and you've been injured, I mean, we want to help you. We want to talk to you. We want to see if there's something we can do. I mean, there are certain situations, obviously, that we can't handle for whatever reason it may be. It may be that the law doesn't allow it. Maybe not something that we don't do. But we're happy to help you find somebody or explain to you why it's not a case or explain to you why it is a case. I mean, some people call me and they don't know whether or not they need a lawyer, and I can explain to them, maybe you don't need a lawyer. Let me tell you, this is pretty straightforward, and I'm going to be taking from you. I'm not going to do that. I want to make sure I'm adding value, and I know that I'm going to get you more than you would have received had you done it alone. Yeah. Or you need a lawyer and you're looking for the right one. Let us give you the information you need. We are happy to show you that we know what's going on, and there, if you don't know what's going on, you could be penalized for that. Yeah. And your choice in lawyer matters. It matters. Insurance companies know who's going to fight and who's not. Right. If you can use your own judgment on that. Yeah. But we appreciate the opportunity for to talk with us so that we can explain to you what we're capable of doing. Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes remaining in this show, but I want to give you the opportunity for a final thought that you would like to leave with the viewers.
Sure. I think that when you're looking at case value, we kind of strayed on some of the topics around a little bit, but when you're looking at case value, really it's going to be controlled predominantly by the nature and extent of your injuries. And what we want to do is make sure that you are getting everything that you are entitled to and everything that you are should get, right? And we want to take the burden of the stresses of the case away. You focus on getting better, we will handle everything else. Right. Give us a call. It's free. The consultation's free. There's no fee unless we're successful on your case. There's no risk to you. We just want to make sure that you're not being victimized again by an insurance company or by anybody else.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
It flies by
does.
Every time, but appreciate so much. Thanks so much to you. And just a reminder before we wrap things up here, the number that you need to call to get in touch with the Henningsen Injury Attorneys, 404-835-4935. Again, that number, write that down, 404-835-4935, or the website. Head to the website, atlantapiattorney.com, atlantapiattorney.com. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks again to Todd as well. We'll look for you next time here on Lawyer Talk. Have a great week, everybody.